Okay, here we are. We're just going to give a trial run on this new setup we've got here. New cameras, new setup, the whole thing, so bear with us. By the way, this is Steve here. We're just going to go through a couple of things just on a basic lesson here. I've never taught Steve before, so I don't know what's coming down the chute here, so just play it off the cuff and we'll see where it goes. You asked me a question one time. In fact, you've been working on a version of Tears in Heaven. And you said, why don't you do the complete song? You only played just a little bit of it. As an instructor, a lot of times, I pad the way here. This is real important because if I threw everything at you at once, it would be so overwhelming and difficult that you'd get rattled and just it would be very difficult for you. So what I've done with the particular piece that I did here as far as an arrangement was to pick the easiest part of the song. The bridge in there, people always say, well, you don't play the bridge. Well, I play the bridge, and the bridge is a real important part. It's just another entity to the song, but it's a very difficult entity. You might be familiar. You can play basic G and C and D chords, but when you play a bar chord, that's a whole different ball game. You have to be quick. You have to be solid with a bar chord. A bar chord, you're holding 6 strings instead of 2 or 3. It's double the work. There's a lot of things coming into play here. So in direct answer to that question posed, why didn't you include the bridge in that particular piece? I did not include it because it was much harder. It takes a pretty advanced student to get through the parts that you need to get through to make it happen. So if you don't get into bar chords right off, you'll get into them later. Again, pay close attention to the arrangement. Up to the right-hand corner, it'll say where you put your capo and whether this is a stage 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. The stages can be so important. You have to start with stage 1 because it'll be more set to where you're going, meaning to say it will feed you the information in a more gradual way that you'll be able to, grab it. I have a lot of students that their musical ability is here, and their desires are up here, meaning to say that the song they want to play is going to be a stage 5 or tougher. Their ability is a stage 1. Now you very gradually have to pull this together, because if you start with a stage 5 right off the top, as I said, it's going to throw you bar chords and all kinds of things. And I've been researching this system for pretty close to 30 some odd years now, and with a lot of experience in teaching this system, needless to say, you get rid of the pitfalls and move the student through, in a more gradual way. And needless to say, if you as a student are grabbing it and I'm not going over your head and just putting you in a frustrating situation, you're going to feel more comfortable. You're going to move with the lesson and be able to grasp, that stage. Now keep in mind, I don't care how good of a musician you are at this point, this system is still original to anybody. Since it is original, that means nobody's ever done it quite this way before. So even with a very experienced musician on the other end, they're watching me do it and they say, oh yeah, I could do that, but how do I read the notation and how do I put this together and so forth? They still have to learn those categories. So it doesn't matter where you're coming from, total beginner or way down the line, you're going to want to have best results, start with a stage 1. The other question a lot of students have is they say, well, why don't you play this particular song? Well, keep in mind, in our situation now, we have literally thousands of students, and there is no way that I can satisfy everybody all of the time. I may not get the exact song that you want to get, but from each song you will learn many different things that will apply to all the songs. You're learning just a general vocabulary of chords and finger patterns and how they go together. And if you give your instructor, which is me in this case, a chance to feed this knowledge to you gradually, you will have much better luck and a lot less, frustration. Now, you've been playing for how long now?
5 years.
5 years, okay. Now keep in mind, a lot of these people that come in, I mean, like, they don't know whether to hold the guitar this way or that way. So you're a ways down the line. Did you have specific questions that you had as far as playing or anything that you can think of right offhand that would help you?
Sure. One of my basic questions is scales. How important are scales?
Well, scales can be important. If you've got knowledge in that field, naturally it's going to be an advantage here. In licks and so forth, they come in more handy than they do full arrangements. A full arrangement now, again, is a lead line, chord structure, bass, rhythm, when the chord changes, phrasing of the melody line. It's all these parts. This particular system deals naturally with the whole orchestra. It's not just the melody line. And when you work with scales, primarily, you're getting into licks and runs, which are good. And if you do know scales, it's going to be an advantage, just your motor skills in general and how you can pull things together. This system deals with scales, and it deals with almost anything you want to name in a very abstract way. What I mean to say is, we won't necessarily call them scales, but they would be called a scale, certain runs that you learn. So very basically, what I have found through the years is that you can learn a lot of bits and pieces to a guitar, meaning to say different pieces of a song or an arrangement or so forth, but nothing makes much sense until it all comes together. That's where the magic happens. The scales sound good on their own, but boy, wouldn't it sound a lot better with a guitar to play the chords in the background and a bass and a drum and everything, see? So what I've done in this situation is to, when I take a song, I take the whole thing. I listen to the whole orchestra. I listen to where the bass line goes. I listen to where the melody line goes, the rhythm, the chord structure, the whole thing, and learn to capture it. Let me give you an example here. I had a student, it was really the greatest compliment that I've ever had. I do a version of Hotel California, and it's a long, involved version. And keep in mind, some of these pieces, you out there listening, we throw these together when we film them. I might not get them right or anything like this. There might even be mistakes. I do that on purpose because I want to come down to your level and make you realize that I make a lot of mistakes too when I work and when I play. I'm a perfectionist when I record and so forth, but these films project very basically, what I'm doing here. If there's a mistake or something, we're not going to cut it 50 times. These are almost all first takes. And I'm getting a little off the subject here, but in this direction, this person gave us an email and they said, really is funny how the group, the Eagles, have 5 or 6 guitar players, but you did it all with one guitar. And to me, that was the greatest compliment there was because it tells me that he heard the tune, he was able to identify that it was Hotel California, and he saw it all done with 2 hands. Now, with our new cameras here, you're seeing all this gadgetry up here. I think you can see this with the film coming down here, and this camera going to the hands, and you'll see us work with these later on here a little bit more. But what I'm getting at is, to me, the real art form is to hear a full band or an orchestra be able to capture all those little teensy parts, put them all in my head, and be able to capture them enough so you, the listener, says, yeah, that's Hotel California. It came out sounding enough like it that I captured the personality factor. It's very much like you hear an artist on stage who mimics different personalities. And we sit and watch how they have the vocal tones, the body movements, and everything, and it blows our mind too. But what they're doing is they're just breaking it down into little parts, the vocal tones, the way the voice is projected, the pronunciation, and how they move their head and everything. And boy, they mimic that person down to a T. This is what we're doing to a song. Now, rounding the corner here, in answer to your question, the scales. There are a lot of arrangements like Hotel California that have different runs in them and so forth. And you look at that really close, and they could be geared into scales also. So in reality, the system does cope with this question, gearing into scales. You just don't realize you're getting into scales and you're doing this. The magic about it is you're pulling it together like I am, because I've drawn the arrangement for you down to a T, every little note, every little finger and hammer and pull, and you end up doing those scales, and you develop your musical ear, if you will, and in time you are playing it, you just don't call them scales. Does that answer your question a little bit?
Are there exercises that a person can do to help them improve?
That is the whole deal in an arrangement. In other words, you say, well, people always ask me in teaching situations, are there finger exercises? And you're doing them right here. The trick is to make it happen without mistakes. It's a hand thing where you get the coordination. It's also a mind thing where you remember it all. And it's a control, if you will. There are many things that come into play here, and the best exercise is playing a song. That's the reason why, in this situation, people have asked that question many times. Don't you have just things that I can practice? Well, there are things that you can practice, but I found through the years they're very boring. Who wants to play boring when you can play a whole song? So that was part of the idea in putting full arrangements together. When you put a full arrangement together, you hear the whole thing come together. You learn music like a conductor would, as opposed to a lone violinist. The lone violinist knows mainly their part, not all the others' parts. If you're familiar, a good conductor can usually play, or they can arrange for every instrument out there. They're a doctor of music. They know a lot about this field. So that's where this system comes into play again. It's a complete picture, a complete arrangement. And when you play these full arrangements, you get into the stamina category, just holding your fingers there that length of time. You start to realize how much practice you have just to get that one little riff or that one little chord or that bar chord, to get the speed in and coordinate the rhythm and so forth. So in this system, you find the best experience is practical experience in playing a song. After all, when somebody asks you to play, and I relate this back for so many years, I used to work on the road like a lot of musicians do. I'd be gone for 6 or 8 months of the year, and we'd be playing nightclubs in Timbuktu, China, and wherever we played. And I'd come home on Christmas, and naturally, I was working with a group at the time. And a group of four or five people, we'd arrange everything down to a T and rehearse it, get it all polished up and get it down, really well. And we'd play it and we'd sound good. I mean, bass, drums, and we had the whole thing. And I've been that direction for all of you out there that are working in groups. Again, playing a full arrangement like this is a whole different story, as you're going to realize more and more of the time. But finishing the story here. I'd come home over Christmas time, and people say, "Oh, yeah, you're playing professionally, working on the road now, and so play us something." And I'd stop and think, well, I play the licks, and a lot of times I play the chords, but without the drummer and the bass player, this thing doesn't come together. Meaning to say, I was just playing like you say, scales. They were by themselves. And without the other parts coming together to put this together and make it sound full and rich and like the full orchestra, this was a whole other, game. So I realized then and there that, gee, I'm a good musician and I'm earning money at this, but there's so much I don't know, it's not even funny. I can honestly say now, even after 30 or 40 years in the field, the more you learn, the more you realize you just don't know still. And now a system like I'm showing you here, it's instead of adding, you're multiplying. And when you multiply the numbers of different little things, what bass line do I use? How do I phrase this melody line? What's the difference between a verse and a bridge? How many verses do I do before I go into a bridge? How long should this song be? Where's my volume? Am I playing too loud? Where's the volume with the lead line to the background? How does the bass fit in, and how does it fill in? Am I answering some of your questions?
What is a coda?
Okay, the different name for bridges and verses. A coda. I call it a bridge because it bridges two verses. And this is a lot of slang that you're going to hear. And you're going to gradually start to understand. I'll use some of these terms, but as some of you may know out there, I trained myself from the very beginning. I started to read notes like everybody else, and I'm sitting here saying this is very boring. If I have to read notes to all this, that's not where I want to go. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
How important is it to memorize all the notes on the fretboard?
Unless they're in context of a song. I had students, I learned every chord there was. Well, every chord there was is nice, but when somebody asks you to play, what do they want to hear? They don't want to hear every chord that's nonsense. They want to hear a song. Coming back to originally where I started again. This full arrangement, to me, this is the most advanced stage of playing an instrument you can get. There are only a few instruments that can do this. Basically, piano, where you have two hands going. You hear a piano bar. Do you ever hear a bass bar or a drum bar? No, a piano bar, because the piano can play blues music, they can play rock, they can play chord structures, lead line, they can sing with it, they can be basically a whole band on them in themselves. So can a guitar. But there's only one instrument, well, that I know for the most part, maybe a harp. If you got 3 men and a boy, and if you got $10,000 for the instrument, or maybe more, I don't know what they run now, 20,000, it's ridiculous. But there are basically 3 different instruments that can do what we're doing here. Now, a lot of times when I record this stuff, I will sit and think, this isn't perfect. It didn't come off exactly the way I want. But in reality, if I was going to do it right, I would be in the studio 6 months like everybody else. A lot of people don't realize when they hear me play up front, 40 of those songs I did in a 2-hour setting in front of the camera. Those were first takes. If I really get serious about it, I'm going to go in the studio and we'll take it 20 times until I get it exactly perfect. And then I'll put reverb behind it and run it through equalization and everything that you do in a studio. And it will take hours and hours and months to record an album. And a lot of times groups will take 6 months or a year to put an album together. And all these songs up front, there's 50, 60 songs. I don't think, in all the studio time, I don't think I've got 5 hours in the whole thing. So that gives you an idea. Those are thrown together, first takes. I warm up a little bit. I review the song so at least I get through it for the most part. And again, I like to come down to earth for my students. Teaching a student, just making them feel humble and in a way, playing way above their head is no way to teach somebody. You come down to the student's level and work with them where they're coming from. And I learned very early in my career that being a good guitarist and then being a good instructor is 2 totally different things. And it took me many years to realize that as an instructor, I've really got to come to that student's level and approach them there. And that's when I become very valuable to them.
Okay. What would a student do, for instance, if I cannot, at this time, use my thumb over that E string?
Okay. This is a question that was posed so many times down the line here, and I use the thumb a great deal. Mm-hmm. Now, when you've been in the field for as long as I have, which involves some 50 years now, ask around. How many people do you know have been in their one field for 50 years? I've been playing since I've been 8 or 9 years old. This is all I've ever done basically for a living up to this very day. You learn to wear many hats. Early on in my career, as I started to say, I learned that the science and what I'm doing here has a lot to do with the tool that I work with. So as I become a good player, I started asking everybody, well, you know, I'd go to the music stores, which was really the wrong place to go, because what I needed was a guitar luthier. And all of you say, well, what's a luthier? Okay, a luthier is basically an engineer when it comes to musical instruments, mainly the guitar in this situation. Mm-hmm. And the engineer naturally is an engineer like building a bridge or building anything else. They have to know the sciences. Through the years, I've learned the pressure that a string pulls, medium, heavy, light gauge strings, the braces, the finish, the aging, the way the grains run, the kinds of wood used, the kinds of gears, the way the truss rod moves. I learned all of that. And very gradually, rounding around to your question again, in this situation, the thumb, if we don't have a zoom-in lens, but I guess we do in this if we get our cameraman to show what I'm talking about. I'll play the C chord, the chord you're having a problem with. If you notice really closely, I'm just going to give you a coaching lesson on the C chord.
Okay.
As a luthier, I learned to give the string a wider stance, meaning more distance. For those of you out there with wide, fat fingers, listen up in this, because this is really important. If you have a little bit wider neck, you're going to be able to widen the stance of string just a little bit more, and you're going to be able to have more room for fingers. One of the main problems when you hold a chord down is you're leaning against another string. And I don't know, you should be able to see this with the close-in camera here. When I go in for this note, I can't lean on that one. I got to go straight in. But if there's more room in between a string stance, or for that string stance, you're going to have more room for your fingers. And in this way, I'm able to not only, with the kind of science that I've done on this very guitar, I've done it to an extreme stage. This is a prototype guitar that I have built. This has a lot of different things on it, and if anybody asks me what brand it is, it's a Zager, because very basically I designed it. But the point I'm getting at is on this guitar, the strings are wider stanced. I have a wider neck than this. If you check the thickness of your neck up against this neck, it is a little bit wider, and so it gives me a wider stance. And in this process here, I probably moved our camera here, we find that we put the bottom string closer to the edge. Your string is about like that. It's in further. Notice it? Okay, now yours has the Zager science on it, but this is the prototype, and this will be what our new designs are built off of, giving the student more room. And you say, well, a wider neck, I can't reach around it. Yes, you can, if it's narrower from here to here, going to the other camera here. If it's narrow from here to here, then it doesn't take up as much hand, and your fingers are longer. So you can reach around that wider neck. A wider neck is going to give you more efficiency. I've had little kids play on this thing. I mean, little kids like 6-year-olds and 6- and 7-year-olds, and they can still form chords on here, even then. And it's because it has a flat neck, but it's wide from side to side. Then I widen the stance of string, and that bottom string. Now, getting to your C chord, there is a secret to the C chord. A lot of people put that whole thumb up. Now, the problem involved is then all of a sudden, the pointer up here, now the camera has to be on my chording, so giving our crew a chance to adjust to this. This pointer cannot lay down on that. So you have to be up there. So you're going to notice now, when I reach up for my thumb, the pointer goes down. That's the problem. So I bring this up, and the thumb slips off the back. Mm-hmm. Vicious circle. You say, okay, there's your wide neck. Problems. No, it's not a problem. In the C chord, the thumb only comes up to there. Notice the fatty tissue does the work. Two things. Number one, this bottom string is closer to the edge. I don't have to work as hard as you do. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I have more room for my fingers. I'm not muting other strings, right? And I can still come up with this pointer. I can still clear. Notice that top string is clear as a bell. So is the bottom. And this is even up the neck. I can do that up here.
Now, were you always able to play with your thumb, or is this something that
No,
you gradually...
No, you gradually get into it. And you can watch a gymnast, and you could ask them, well, were you always able to do the splits like that and jump around like a, and do that whole thing? Well, watch a gymnast work. If you watch a gymnast work, you know they are very limber. Martial artists, I've had a lot of experience in that field, and stretching was one of the first things that we always did. A warm-up, stretch in that order on down through. Again, martial arts being a field that is very disciplined again. It's extremely disciplined, and like guitar is. So you people out there that have done other things, like anything like sports and things like that, the discipline category is really important here. If you have a strong discipline. And the other thing that I might mention here, too, that is really important is your power of concentration. Power of concentration is ability to concentrate. People around me always saying, well, you weren't listening to me. I probably wasn't, because when I concentrate into that and that only. The word is concentrate, into that one little thing, not taking anything else out. But boy, I'm into that one thing. I cut everything else out of the picture, and I'm concentrating on that one thing. And for that reason, with that power of concentration, I'll get every little thing about it. And when you play, playing a system like this, I compare it a lot to running down the freeway about 160 miles an hour in your car. You're at that speed, every little thing, you better do everything right, or you're in deep, to say the least. And so when you're moving through a piece like this, it has to be totally reflexed in. Now, when I talk about reflex, I'm talking about subconscious memory. If I have to consciously think where I'm at, it's all over. So that should be the only part of your mind that can move that fast is your subconscious. Your conscious can't think that fast. So when you're learning a riff over and over again, the things that you've learned, you're practicing, and what you are is you're building that subconscious ability to think quick enough to put all that in and play it. And that's one of the most difficult areas here. And if you learn, the power of concentration is just like a muscle in your arm. The more you use that arm and that muscle, the more you're going to build that. Just like in the gym, doing the bench press or whatever you're doing. You build that arm enough and you can bench whatever, 300 pounds or whatever you bench. And if you keep working that muscle, it becomes more and more powerful. I do basically three things in my life. Well, I have done. And they all take a lot of power of concentration. I ride bike pretty much on a professional level, where I am flying. When you're running 30, 35 miles an hour on a bike, you don't your concentration better be there and not slip on the gravel. And I'm used to doing that a lot. And the martial arts was another thing, but in my guitar playing, it's the same thing. This power of concentration, and like that muscle in your arm, you can move in a direction, like you can develop that muscle for whatever. You can use that muscle to change the tire on your car. You can use that muscle to lift the chair or whatever. That muscle is there to be used. That power of concentration is always on for me. A lot of people say, well, you've ridden bike all these years and God, you've never had an accident. How is that? When I'm riding those speeds, that's that power of concentration again. In martial arts, they'll teach you right off. If you're going to break that wood, or you concentrate, you think on the other side of that board. And if you do it wrong, you're going to hurt your foot or hurt yourself or whatever, not break the wood or what. It's a power of concentration again. And that concentration becomes so important when you play guitar. So many times it's a lot of other things that are coming into play. that are making this all happen. Now, this lesson is very basically like most of the lessons that I teach. It's a lot off the wall, but I'm just thinking that that's when some of the best lessons come out of the wash. But we'll cover a lot of other directions, specializing in tons of different things, from specializing in bar chords, what is phrasing, different little areas that we'll just go way into and give you a bird's eye view of really what this is all about. And with 50 years, of background in this field, it really helps to have all that backlog knowledge. And I just think off the cuff, in this way. So I have time for about one other question. Did you have anything else, or?
No.
Okay. I guess for you beginners and people that are just getting started on this, patience is everything. I have a lot of people that say, well, do I have the real gift for this? I say to them, there is truly a gift. There is truly one gift. And they're thinking, oh, he has perfect pitch, or boy, he has ears like a dog, or whatever. He can hear it. But that's not true. The real gift is the desire. If you've got the desire, if you love music, that is a true gift. That's what's kept me in this all these years. And it'll keep me in until I'm 90, I'm very sure, because I'm as excited about this today as the day that I picked it up. And the further I get in, the more exciting it gets, because needless to say, you're doing more and more and more. And now I just do it in front of the camera, and we'll tear this down. We've got tons of directions to go. So for those of you watching, I hope you've enjoyed this. I appreciate you watching. Thanks a lot. We'll see you in future films. We'll see you.